Hey geeks, if you're a collector of movies and shows, then there's one name that you're probably very familiar with, and that name is Criterion. So Criterion has been around for a very long time, and I first heard about them all the way back in the Laserdisc days whenever I had a Laserdisc player, and at that time, if you wanted the highest quality version with the most special features, then Criterion was it, but you also paid a premium as well. But nowadays, they're not the only boutique label around. There's many other great brands such as Kino Lorber, Shout Factory, Vinegar Syndrome, and my favorite, Arrow Video. And so today, I wanted to show you some of the ones that I had in my Criterion collection because they still do have a special place for collectors out there. So let's start off with one that I did not see coming at all, and that movie is Trainspotting. So from the very opening scene with the Iggy Pop soundtrack, I knew that this was going to be something very different, but one that's always going to be very special. And this movie is just a wild ride, but at the end of the day, this is a really wonderful story about friendship, and it's one that I'm so happy to have in my collection. And this one, wow, this one, it's really hard to explain how much it influenced my childhood, but it's one that I think almost everyone can relate with, and that is The Breakfast Club. John Hughes has created a lot of films over the years, but this one for me is the best that he's made. And it is about kids going through high school, but it's a coming of age story, but it's also about people trying to discover who they are and making friendships as well, and just really going through this whole life of being somebody in high school. And that is something that is timeless, and I really, really do love this film. And then the end of it with that wonderful soundtrack, it is simply priceless. Okay, so if you have not seen The Breakfast Club, watch it many, many times. And this one is also one that is unexpected because there's honestly not another movie like it. And that movie is Brazil. So Brazil is one that I watched around the same time as Blade Runner. And Blade Runner is one of my all-time favorite films of all time. And in the early 80s, late 70s, sci-fi fantasy, I think, was at its peak. And Brazil is just one of those that has a lot of influences, very similar to Blade Runner, but in a different way on a lot of the sci-fi and fantasy shows that we have today. And it's one that still to this day doesn't have anything close to it, and overall this is just a really, really great story, and one that takes you to another world. And this one, well, it really needs no introduction. That is Godzilla, the very first one, black and white. Godzilla, what can you say? King of monsters, been around forever, created basically this whole genre of kaiju. And it's one that will never leave my collection. And I can't wait to add Godzilla -1. Even though it's not Criterion, this first one and Godzilla -1 is the ones that are most memorable to me, even though there have been so many Godzilla monster movies since then. So now that you're seeing some of my favorite films in my Criterion collection, let me show you some in my collection that I've never seen before. And the one thing that all of these films have in common is that they're all highly critically acclaimed, and most of these are classics. Let's start off with one that I think most people have seen. And that movie is Raging Bull with Robert De Niro, directed by Martin Scorsese. And Scorsese and De Niro have collaborated on so many movies together. This one and Taxi Driver, I think, was the one that really introduced a lot of audiences to De Niro and Scorsese together, and it's one that is a classic for a lot of people, but for me, I've never seen it. And then another classic film in another country is this one right here, Stalker. This is a Russian film, and honestly, I don't know much about it, but I keep hearing about this over and over, and I think it's like a sci-fi film of sorts, and I love sci-fi, but I just wanted to see why so many people love this, and so I decided to get it. And this next one is, well, one of the best movies, one that many directors say is on their top list, and I think George Lucas, he loves this film, and it was the inspiration for Star Wars, and it's also a foreign film, and that movie is Seven Samurai out of Japan. This is a huge influence for a lot of movie creators, directors out there, by Akira Kurosawa, who's done many movies, but this one is the one that is up there. You know, just one of those movies that if you are learning film, studying film, this is the one that you should definitely learn, study as much as you can, and obviously have in your collection. And that leads me to the final one that I haven't seen, and it's basically in this same category, but for the United States. And that movie is Citizen Kane. This, by far, is considered by many film critics, directors, and so forth as the greatest film of all time. I don't know why, but I'm gonna see it for myself. And all of these films, you know, I mainly got them for those reasons. You know, they have been on these highly critically acclaimed lists for decades, and I don't know why I've never seen them, but now I have in my collection and I'm gonna check them out. So if you actually had any thoughts on these or any other boutique labels or titles that you enjoyed, be sure to leave in the comments area below, and I'll see you on another episode.